wealthiest among them, who owns several enterprises and employs hundreds of workers, lamented, "I've earned enough money to last multiple lifetimes, yet I must keep hustling every day. What else can I do?" His busyness made me feel pity for him. When people are trapped in the pursuit of money, their minds are consumed by considerations of profit and loss. They dismiss spiritual or soul matters as baseless, focusing solely on money as the most tangible and practical means to solve problems. However, no matter how much wealth one accumulates, becoming a slave to money emits a sense of decay. Among the 16 people who went abroad with me, none live as freely and carefreely as I do. I always plan ahead, adapting and improvising when necessary. The old saying goes, "Preparedness ensures success, while lack of it leads to failure." Life requires foresight, which can be simply understood as having ideals and aspirations. For instance, I began preparing for my move abroad long before it happened. I studied English and resolved to stay permanently from the second day of my arrival. When my contract ended 2 years later, I had seamlessly settled abroad. Others, lacking a clear plan, were at the mercy of fate. Once I set my sights on a goal, I pursue it with unwavering determination. I abandon anything that might hold me back, even if it means giving up titles, records, achievements, jobs, houses, money, and connections. I let myself start from zero. As long as there's a watermelon ahead, I won't waste time picking up sesame seeds along the way. My approach has proven effective. At the slightest dissatisfaction, I walk away. This is my principle. At one workplace, interpersonal conflicts and petty disputes consumed everyone's energy. I thought, this place is not worth staying in. None of this belongs to me anyway. So I left without hesitation. As the saying goes, there is no shortage of green grass under the heavens. Why force myself to get along with incompatible people? If it's enjoyable, we interact. If not, I move on. This attitude toward people, situations, and environments has enabled me to live a life akin to that of a celestial being today. Taiji Celestial has also benefited from my life philosophy. He now enjoys a carefree life, having moved from Shenyang to Rizhao and then to Kunming. Isn't that freedom? One key insight is about ownership. The more you own, the more you are burdened. I avoid ownership because it becomes a tether. I've moved houses almost every year, enjoying the fresh excitement each new environment brings. Owning a house, on the other hand, would tie me down. The more one possesses, the more troubles they have. This is my realization. If any man disagrees, try marrying 10 wives. Or any woman, try marrying 10 husbands. Or any couple, try having 20 children. Or any business owner, try expanding from 1 company to 10 companies. Or try buying 10 large TVs to place in your home, or even 10 large beds if you like. The desire to own reflects a lack of confidence. Ironically, the more you own, the more troubled you become, draining life's precious vitality. A better approach is to own nothing yet have access to everything. That's the essence of a fulfilling life. In the writings of Chen Kuan Celestial, the concept of transforming consciousness is discussed, which is a great treasure for life. People must continuously transform their consciousness. To understand it in a simple way, imagine yourself standing in a certain environment. Looking straight ahead, you see one scenery. Then, turning to your right, you see a different scenery. Turning around to look behind you, the scenery changes again. This is the essence of transforming consciousness. For instance, if a person or environment makes you uncomfortable, don't fixate on it, move on. When one door closes, others open, but only if you stop fixating on the closed one. Do not let a theory, doctrine, or worldview that makes you uncomfortable bind you. Life is short and so precious. Why should I listen to you? Why should I go against my own will and personality to follow your rules? I will live in a way that brings me happiness and joy. Why should I abide by your teachings? Why should I let you block the information I need or deprive me of another possible path in life? My life is mine to decide. I am the most remarkable person. Why should I bow down to anyone? If your temper and personality clash with mine, why should I entangle myself with you? Of course, this requires unconventional thinking. You need to cultivate your own mental strength. When the power of your own thinking surpasses that of a theory or doctrine, you will no longer be bound by it. Traditional ideas are also a kind of mental force, restricting everyone's thoughts and actions. However, if you dare to disdain them, they will lose their grip on you. I've said enough for now, time to stop. 实话实说话人生一 Speaking honestly about life, part 1 Being praised feels so good. Deiform Buddha. When I was about 5 or 6 years old, my grandmother, parents, and the adults around me often praised me, saying, "This kid has a bright future." From that moment, a subconscious aspiration to have a bright future was born within me. If I was destined for greatness, then I had to stand out from others. Even at a young age, I tried to show the demeanor of a philosopher. When playing with my peers, I was often the one in charge. I wasn't afraid of what others feared, dared to do what others wouldn't, and once I made a decision, no one could change it. In terms of academics, I naturally aimed to be at the top. From a private preschool to elementary school, middle school, technical school, college, and university, I wasn't the best in every subject, but I was almost always among the top students in my class. After all, I had a bright future. At the private school I attended, there were more than 60 students. The school focused on literacy, so some classmates were more than 10 years older than me. Yet, I held the position of class monitor. During elementary school, which coincided with the Cultural Revolution, every school formed its own Red Guards company. Naturally, the highest position, company commander, was mine. Other students carried long spears or bayonets, but I carried a pistol. Whenever there was a chance to stand out, whether it was shouting slogans or giving speeches, it was always me in the spotlight. In middle school, however, my reputation took a hit when a secret romance of mine was exposed, earning me some infamy. For a few years, I had to let others take the position of class monitor, but I still often served as vice monitor. When I entered technical school, college, and university, where my peers and teachers were unaware of my past, I easily reclaimed the throne of class monitor, as I was, after all, destined for greatness. The phoenix in the sky. When I was in the 4th grade, my homeroom teacher, Teacher Yang, once pointed to me in front of nearly 60 classmates and said, "He's a phoenix in the sky." Then, pointing to the rest of the class, she said, "You are all hens on the ground." My joy and pride soared. From that moment on, I secretly regarded myself as a phoenix in the sky. Since I was destined for greatness and was a phoenix in the sky, I felt I needed to behave more maturely than others. But how could I show maturity? That's right, by falling in love. By the 5th grade, I was already 12 years old, practically an adult, and it was time to think about getting a wife. There was a girl in my class named Yang Xiulan, who had transferred from the big city of Lanzhou. She was lively, cheerful, and beautiful, the most stunning girl in the class. As a phoenix in the sky, it seemed only natural that the most beautiful classmate should belong to me. Everything originates in the mind, and all phenomena are created by consciousness. With her in my heart, my attitude and behavior toward her naturally changed. I can't recall exactly how we dated back then. I swear to Chairman Mao, I never kissed her or held her hand. I only remember the affair causing quite a stir, becoming a hot topic of gossip wherever I went. Even my parents found out. My father scrutinized me a few times but didn't punish me harshly, while my kind-hearted mother didn't scold me much either. I vividly remember confidently telling her, "You don't need to worry about me finding a wife." As it turned out, I really didn't let my parents worry about that. Chasing the heavenly fairy. In middle school, when Xiulan's parents disapproved of me marrying their precious daughter, I quickly moved on. After all, I had to keep my word to my parents. Soon, I set my sights on another classmate who was later nicknamed the 7th Fairy. She was breathtakingly beautiful like a goddess. A match between a heavenly fairy and a phoenix seemed like destiny, and so I pursued her. This pursuit lasted 10 years. Those 10 years became some of the most cherished memories of my life. Struggles of a phoenix in the fields. After graduating high school in 1975 at the age of 18, I returned to the countryside to farm. The feeling of being destined for greatness and being a phoenix in the sky tormented me. Had I lost my future? Was I no longer a phoenix? I couldn't be like everyone else. Otherwise, I'd have disappointed my family, teachers, and those who had praised me. I visited a Xinhua bookstore in Linxia City and bought several books on radio technology, determined to research it and build my own radio. But I soon realized this great plan was impractical. I couldn't afford the components. Desperate times called for desperate measures. Note that desperate here isn't just about poverty. I decided to switch to something more feasible, becoming a doctor. I bought several medical books, especially on traditional Chinese medicine, and began studying 8 principles of diagnosis, pathogenesis, 24 pulses, and pharmacology. Just as I was preparing to test my skills, the senior secretary of the village came to me and said, "You're not an ordinary young man. How about becoming the secretary of the youth league branch and the village's clerk?" A not ordinary young man. Beautiful. I was destined for greatness, a phoenix in the sky, and not an ordinary young man. Some say, a lie repeated 1,000 times becomes the truth. Since everyone said so, I began to believe I wasn't ordinary. Even my wife, who cherished me like a treasure, often praised me, saying I was a real man. She would imply that I was a man of great fortune, almost someone who never needed to lift a finger. Honestly, she worried I might elope someday, so she treated me with extraordinary care. My children also flattered me, exclaiming, "Dad is amazing." Along the way, colleagues and acquaintances showered me with endless praise. Today in Life-Chanuan, both male and female celestials praise me daily, making me feel once again like a phoenix in the sky. This is how confidence grows. Ambitions swell. Factory director or company manager. Not interested. Provincial governor or minister. Boring. Sometimes I wonder, what if I became a national president? But after some thought, it doesn't seem worth striving for. If I were to aim for anything, it would be to become the president of the world, unifying all under one faith. A touch of madness? Perhaps I've lost my mind? Hold on, even being the president of the world no longer appeals to me. The green mountains endure, but life is fleeting. What's worth pursuing in this ephemeral existence? If I must seek something, it should be supreme enlightenment. I must first understand my origins and destiny. I cannot drift through life in ignorance, unsure of what to do when death comes tomorrow. I must be someone, because I'm not an ordinary young man. I'm a phoenix in the sky, and phoenixes don't belong on the ground, they should soar in the heavens. To be continued. 实话实说话人生二，赞美使人完美，挑剔使人残缺。Speaking honestly about life, Part 2. Praise perfects, criticism diminishes. Deform Buddha. I was raised and have grown up amidst praise. If I had power, wealth, beauty, or influence, I might need to exercise some caution. However, I am an ordinary citizen, a commoner from a humble background. Naturally, I lack confidence and carry a heavy sense of inferiority. Without the warmth of praise and the nurturing rain of encouragement, I might have withered long ago. I am a staunch believer and practitioner of the Pygmalion effect. This well-known psychological concept suggests that if people around someone regard them as a great person, they are likely to become one. Conversely, if people label someone as a scoundrel, that individual may come to embody that role. I taught middle school for 5 years, and both students and their parents liked me because I often praised my students. They particularly enjoyed my English classes. One year, my class achieved top results in a citywide English exam, surpassing dozens of other schools and excelling far beyond our district's average. This earned me a third-class merit award, a testament to the power of praise. I employed the same approach with my brothers. I lavished praise on my 2 older brothers, and in turn they doted on me, never letting me do any hard labor at home. They took care of all the heavy work. With my 3 younger brothers, I also found every opportunity to praise them. They treated me like royalty, happily taking care of small tasks like pouring tea or serving meals. Between the heavy lifting my older brothers did, and the lighter chores handled by my younger brothers, I lived a carefree and harmonious life. From childhood to adulthood, I never had arguments, fights, or disputes with my 5 brothers. How blessed and free my life has been. My wife has a saying, "My husband's only talent is making me happy." Over 2 decades of sweet talking have given her some resistance to it. Simple flattery no longer works, so I've laid it out plainly. Even if you resent me, please humor me. As long as you keep me happy every day will feel like a good one for me. If you make me happy for a lifetime, I'll be eternally grateful. The same applies in reverse. When it comes to our child, I've rarely been strict. Others say most families follow the pattern of a stern father and kind mother, but in our house it's the opposite, a kind father and stern mother. This is indeed true. I often praise my child, saying, You're unique, sensible, intelligent, and mature beyond your years. You're also filial and will surely achieve greatness. This encouragement paid off, and my child graduated high school with top marks. If finances had allowed, attending Harvard wouldn't have been out of the question. Nonetheless, he graduated from a prestigious American university with excellent grades. Moreover, because I often praised his filial piety, he cooked nearly all our family dinners during his 6 years of secondary school, doing so with great enthusiasm. Huanying Celestial of Life Achanuan introduced the concept of Chanyuan flattery. This means that in Life Achanuan, members focus on praising and encouraging each other, rather than criticizing or nitpicking. In Life Achanuan, I fully embrace this approach. Male members are like celestial beings, and female members are like fairies. The community includes Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and heavenly beings. Every man is handsome and charismatic, and every woman is beautiful and virtuous. They are all seeds of future civilization in the era of Life Achanuan. Similarly, they shower me with praise, leaving me feeling buoyant and inspired. If Li Bai could compose 100 poems after a few drinks, I could write thousands of articles after receiving their encouragement. The more they praise me, the more energetic I become. Without it for 3 days, I'd feel deflated. Life is but a dream, so why not treat it as play? In Life Achanuan, we're not pursuing grand achievements but are like playful old and young children indulging in joyful games. We humor each other, exchange compliments, and have so much fun that we forget the worries of the mundane world. Serious matters of the human world are treated as mere games. My goal is to flatter and praise everyone until we all reach the Celestial Islands continent. And what will we do there? Continue playing games in paradise. I've discovered a little secret. People who can genuinely praise and encourage others have beautiful hearts. Those who nitpick and criticize have imperfect hearts, as their flaws drive them to point out others' shortcomings. Praise and encouragement are like sunshine and rain, while criticism and nitpicking are like storms. Praise and encouragement perfect people, whereas criticism and nitpicking diminish them. However, my conclusion comes with a caveat. It applies only to ordinary civilians like us. In the arenas of business, politics, and warfare, things might be different. Hey, fellow commoners and ordinary folk, let's practice more praise and encouragement. Why not give Chanyuan flattery a try? To be continued. 实话实说话人生3. Speaking honestly about life 3. Love for change. Deiform Buddha. December 5, 2006. Character determines destiny, and I've never been someone who could settle down. I can't bear staying in one place too long or eating the same food repeatedly. I've held over 20 different jobs, moved 15 times, and lived in 17 places for more than 4 months each. My favorite sayings are, "The world is my home," and "A true man should aspire to travel far and wide." Each change feels like a rebirth, a bit like Columbus discovering a new world. Take housing and the environment, for example. Every home I've lived in had a unique layout and surroundings, and the novelty would last for months. The most captivating were exotic villas with sprawling, crystal-clear pools, meticulously designed back gardens, spacious front yards surrounded by lush greenery and lawns, and 2 large German shepherds playfully running around, while gardeners in uniforms tended the grounds. The houses featured expansive living rooms, dining areas, bedrooms, bathrooms, and kitchens. Cars could drive directly into garages, and from the study window, I could see foreigners strolling by outside the fenced yard. It was pure comfort. Among the jobs I've held, my favorites were shepherding and interpreting. Shepherding was marvelous, relaxing, and romantic. Wandering through riverbanks, meadows, hills, and ditches, I could indulge in the beauty of nature. With a whip in hand and a tune on my lips, I'd stroll leisurely or lie on the grass, watching the drift of clouds and the free flight of swans, swallows, sparrows, and eagles. Lying on the grass, my thoughts would drift far away, and I felt completely at ease. It was truly relaxing. As an interpreter, I especially enjoyed it when my boss sent me on solo assignments. Driving alone with my favorite songs playing and speeding at 160 kilometers per hour. It felt exhilarating. I particularly loved driving through African jungles. Occasionally, I'd stop by huts built by locals deep in the forest, exchange a few words, and if I saw a pretty local girl, I'd say, "Hi, beauty. I love you." Their laughter brought me joy before I continued exploring. Embracing change. This love for change naturally keeps me from being overly attached to people, things, or places. I know there are even more wonderful places and friendlier people ahead. The problem now is I've grown tired of Earth and want to visit paradise. Where's paradise? I've read Buddhist sutras, the Bible, the Quran, the Tao Te Ching, fairy tales, and mythological novels. But sadly, heaven's image is unclear, and the path uncertain. What should I do? I can't stay on this tiny Earth forever. The Earth is too small. With just a few flaps of your wings, you've seen it all. It's no fun anymore. The universe is vast, surely filled with more stunning places to explore. After much searching, I finally found a few ideal destinations: the 1,000-year world, the 10,000-year world, and the Elysium Islands continent in the Elysium world. The 1,000-year world offers abundant food. No families, no nations, no political parties, and no religions. Everyone is equal and enjoys a vibrant life without conflict, anxiety, sadness, or exploitation. It's far more enjoyable than life on Earth. The 10,000-year world is filled with people as beautiful as flowers and landscapes as magnificent as paintings. Resources are plentiful, and the most magical part is that people can walk or fly at will. It's like a happy fairy tale world, perfect for someone like me who loves to play. The Celestial Islands continent of the Elysium world is absolutely breathtaking. Everyone there possesses supernatural abilities and extraordinary powers. It has 80 billion celestial islands, each the size of Earth. Every individual can own an island, becoming its master and living however they please. In comparison, life on Earth is pitiful, like ants crammed in a nest or frogs stuck in a well. It's dull and uninteresting. How do you get there? It's as simple as turning your hand. If you want to know, just serve me some tea and cheer me up. I'll share the secret. My innate love for change. This love for change is in my nature. Perhaps it's this innate love for change that led me to discover these new worlds. Those confined to their familiar surroundings, where the seasons alternate year-round, often believe the entire world experiences the same. They can't imagine that some places on Earth have eternal spring or summer. Similarly, those confined to Earth think it's vast and believe humans can only live here. They can't fathom a far larger world waiting for us, places we can easily migrate to. Don't you ever feel the urge to shake things up? 实话实说话人生事，滴血也要潇洒. Speaking honestly about life for a dashing spirit even while bleeding. Deform Buddha. Having experienced the Cultural Revolution, one of Chairman Mao's instructions left a profound mark on me. Marxism, in 1,000 words and sentences, boils down to one: rebellion is justified. I suppose I was born with a rebellious streak, like someone with horns on their head and thorns on their body. I've always lived by sayings like, if the east doesn't shine, the west will, or when one door closes, another opens. Another favorite of mine has been, as long as the moon reflects on the lakes and rivers, there's no need to worry about where to cast your fishing line. First rebellion. Against my primary school teacher. At nearly 7 years old, I had my first act of defiance. My teacher, Mr. Chi, was writing math test questions on the blackboard. Eager to prove myself, I completed them in under 10 minutes and, feeling triumphant, rushed to him. Teacher Chi, I've finished. I was expecting praise but was instead shocked when he angrily flung my notebook to the floor. Bewildered and humiliated, I wondered what I had done wrong. Someone whispered to me, "It's Mr. Chi, not Teacher Chi." I realized my mistake, but the teacher's reaction deeply hurt my self-esteem. Silently, I picked up my notebook, glared at him, and left the classroom. I never stepped foot in it again. Looking back now, I can't entirely blame him. If Mr. Chi had learned English, he might have found Teacher Chi similar to Mr. Chi, and let it slide. Perhaps it was an early sign of my natural affinity for English. Second rebellion. Standing my ground. This was against another teacher during my first year at formal elementary school. A female classmate sitting in front of me had her tooth broken by a rock thrown by another student. The teacher, assuming I was the culprit, asked me to stand up and reprimanded me in front of the whole class. I shouted, "I didn't throw the rock." Eventually, the real culprit confessed, and the teacher told me to sit down. But I refused. Furious and indignant, I stood for the rest of the class thinking, you humiliate me, I'll make you uncomfortable too. Looking back, I regret it. My stubbornness must have embarrassed my teacher, Ms. Lee. Poor teacher. Third rebellion, against my mother. At around 9 years old, I had a quarrel with my loving and kind mother. The details are fuzzy, but I remember refusing to eat for 3 whole days, bringing her to tears. She wanted to slap me but couldn't bring herself to do it. I've written about this in detail in my heartfelt reflection commemorating the 3rd anniversary of my mother's passing. Fourth rebellion, against my boss. The 4th act of rebellion was against the head of my work unit. I had already been informally designated for the 3rd-tier leadership position. The head called me into his office, gave me a long lecture, and finally said, "You still need to be tested." I was furious. Wasn't this just a way to keep me in a subservient position? A few days later, I requested a transfer. A few months later, I was transferred to another work unit. Fine, test someone else. 5th rebellion, abroad. The 5th time was while I was working overseas. During a meeting, my boss falsely accused me of wrongdoing. Furious, I stood up in front of everyone and declared, "Boss, I quit. You can do it yourself." Then I walked out with my head held high. These were just a few examples. I've rebelled countless times. Questioning authority. When I read the Tao Te Ching, I felt Laozi left too many things unsaid. If you're going to speak, why not finish the thought? Instead, he left behind 3,000 cryptic words and then vanished, leaving me to decipher his riddles. How frustrating! The Buddhist sutras were no better. Despite teaching for over 40 years, the Buddha neglected humanity's material needs and ignored our innate nature, deviating from the greatest creator's intended design. His teachings left behind many unresolved puzzles for me to fix. What a hassle! The Bible too left me perplexed. It didn't answer many of my pressing questions. Besides, why didn't Jesus lead humanity directly into the era of life genuine? Leaving at such a young age only added to the burden left for me to bear. The Internationale sings it best. Creating happiness for humanity and ourselves requires 2 things. My ultimate revelation. I've finally found the path. To create happiness for humanity and ourselves, we must rely on 2 things. The greatest creator in ourselves. Rebellion is liberating, but it comes at a cost, grace tinged with pain. Even in elegance, the wounds still bleed. 实话实说话人生五，人生需要导游. Speaking honestly about life v. Life needs guides. Deiform Buddha. December 12, 2006. A guide is someone who shows us the way, not someone who carries us along the path. To have the fortune of encountering one or several guides in life is an immense blessing. Figures like Jesus, Sakyamuni, Muhammad, and Laozi are the greatest guides in human history. However, I want to discuss the guides we encounter in everyday life. Those who may seem ordinary but illuminate critical turning points on our journey. My first guide. The first guide in my life was Guoxinjian, the principal of Zhouchuan Education College. Once, during a chance meeting on the road, he said to me, "Never stay long in a place that doesn't align with your ideals." This advice was like a lighthouse that illuminated my path ahead. It set me on the course of seeking an environment that suited me, helping me avoid a life of misery. His words ultimately played a role in my decision to found Life Genuine. My second guide. My second guide was my close friend Xue Binyi. His thinking was unconventional. He often glimpsed a different world within commonly accepted norms. For example, his concept of visualized thinking was a unique discovery. Whenever possible, we would gather and engage in wide-ranging conversations, which benefited me immensely. At just over 30 years old, he was already leading a large geophysical exploration team and mentoring a group of individuals, of whom I was one. My third guide. My third guide is my current wife. An ordinary woman, she possesses exceptional foresight and wisdom. Her guidance transcends mundane interests and directly addresses the core themes of life. For example, when I was considering going abroad, a leader at my workplace urged me to stay, hinting that I could succeed him as the head of a mechanical processing plant. Given my strong theoretical and practical foundation in mechanical engineering, this was a tempting offer. I hesitated. Should I stay and strive for this position, or go abroad to work as an interpreter? I discussed this dilemma with my wife, and she decisively said, "A true man's ambition should reach far beyond his current circumstances. Don't just focus on immediate benefits. Even if you become the plant manager or a provincial governor, wouldn't you still be just a cog in the machine? Go abroad. Her firm words resolved my doubts, and I embarked on a journey abroad. This decision allowed me to experience foreign cultures, engage with people from diverse cultural backgrounds, study the Bible and church, and witness the lives of Christians, all of which laid a vital foundation for the birth of Life Genuine. Gratitude for guides. I am deeply grateful to my guides. Without their wisdom, I would have been left to grope blindly, like Xie Sun desperately deciphering the secrets of the dragon saber, or someone lost in the spider's web cave. Every true mentor hopes their disciples will ultimately surpass them. Only disciples who transcend their mentors can be deemed excellent, and only then can the mentor feel fulfilled and joyful. I strive to surpass my mentors to repay their grace and teachings. I regard Jesus, Sakyamuni, Muhammad, Laozi, and Mao Zedong as my mentors and work diligently to go beyond them. I believe my current endeavors align with the wishes of my guides and the purposes of my mentors. Life needs guides and mentors. Life without guides or mentors is a bewildered life, a sorrowful existence. At present, I view the celestial members of Life Genuine as my guides and mentors. Every day I eagerly absorb their wisdom, humor, and wit, drawing nourishment from their insightful words. Their selfless love and spirit of dedication inspire me to climb toward the highest realms of life and existence. Without the soil and environment of Life Genuine, my life would remain barren. I will always need guides. 实话实说话，人生6劳动奉献是快乐的源泉. Speaking honestly about life, 6 labor and dedication as source of joy. Jiefeng. April 21, 2007. For 8 years I labored tirelessly without earning a penny. Yet those years were the happiest of my life. From 1994 to 1995, I traveled incessantly within the 600-kilometer stretch between Bulawayo and Victoria Falls, covering nearly 250,000 kilometers in 2 years. I traveled from village to village and school to school, working tirelessly day and night. My job was to serve as an interpreter for a well drilling team, though in reality I handled all sorts of odd tasks: purchasing materials, managing relationships, scouting drilling sites, arranging accommodations for the team, organizing villagers to build roads, supervising workers, and serving as an interpreter for the leadership, among other duties. There were no holidays or weekends during this period, and I worked at least 10 hours daily, often returning to my temporary quarters at midnight. After grabbing a quick bite, I'd collapse into bed, only to rise early the next day and begin again. At one point, due to a lack of vehicles, I drove an open-top Jeep that had to be jump-started by other vehicles each day. Once running, I didn't dare turn off the engine during the day. The Jeep had numerous quirks. Its drive shaft frequently detached, the headlights failed to work at night, and the steering wheel had a significant lag, requiring half a rotation before the tires responded, often with a sudden sharp turn. 2 incidents stand out. One night at around 10 p.m., I was leading a convoy through a jungle without roads during a relocation. Since my Jeep's headlights didn't work, a large truck behind me provided illumination. As the interpreter, I was the only one familiar with the route, so I had to lead the way. That night, I relied entirely on intuition to drive, yet we safely reached our destination. The local workers joked, "You could be our president's driver." On another occasion, facing an emergency, I drove over 60 kilometers in complete darkness along the national highway from Bulawayo to Victoria Falls. With no lights, I navigated by the faint contrast between treetops and the sky. At the time I felt no fear, but looking back I realized I was gambling with my life. But life often compels us into such situations, driven by forces beyond our control. During these 2 grueling years, it was said I would earn 60,000 yuan. However, because I defied organizational arrangements and stayed abroad, I never received the money. I've never asked for it either. Though I didn't earn a single penny, I gained a treasure trove of happiness. Driving along paved roads, dirt paths, bumpy tracks, washboard surfaces, muddy trails, and jungle paths, I experienced the joy of constant discovery, like finding a new village beyond the shaded willows. It was thrilling and exhilarating. I frequently interacted with an American and a Zimbabwean supervisor engineer. We had endless conversations, even laughing uproariously while comparing the differences between women of different races, such as Asian, African, and European women. The simplicity, sincerity, kindness, and generosity of the locals often moved me to tears. When I organized tasks for villagers, they would work enthusiastically. Whenever water flowed from a newly dug well, the entire village would gather to dance their traditional dances, so admirable and endearing. There were many group activities. A dozen Chinese colleagues dined, worked, and slept together, sharing stories from all over China, often making us laugh until we cried. Losing myself in labor and dedication elevated my character. I felt noble and often dreamed of making the world a happier place for kind and impoverished people. Their dreams became my dreams. Since 2002, I have devoted myself to creating the values of Life Genuine. For 6 years, I've written over 1,000 articles, amounting to nearly 2 million words. I closed my company and ceased all business activities, incurring economic losses of at least 1 million yuan. To this day, my writing hasn't brought me a single penny, and I've become increasingly poor. Yet my joy and happiness have only grown. Establishing Life Genuine has provided a spiritual and soul home. I've found many like-minded friends, and now we gather in this home as brothers and sisters. Together, we enjoy emotional, spiritual, and soul freedom. It feels like we've already entered the 1,000-year world of heaven. To have one confidant in life is rare, but I've gained dozens of soulmates with whom I share life and death. This kind of wealth is immeasurable. Such are the fruits of labor and dedication. True happiness lies in the selfless process of labor and giving. Though I've become economically poor, I am spiritually and soulfully enriched, a blessing from the greatest creator. If this spirit spreads widely, humanity will surely enter the blissful Life Genuine era. Tanda, 好可怕的爱. Oh my God, what terrifying love. Deform Buddha. May 10, 2006. Someone captured a free-flying bird, confined it in a cage to admire, and shamelessly declared, "I love birds." Someone prevented their 8 or 9-year-old child from dressing themselves or playing outdoors, instead forcing them to study incessantly and suppressing their innate nature, yet solemnly and proudly claimed, "I love my child." Someone obstructed their divorced mother from remarrying, self-righteously asserting, "I love my mother." Someone monitored their spouse's every move, flying into a rage at any interaction with the opposite sex, creating chaos at home, disturbing the neighbors and exhausting their loved ones, yet shouted with all their might, "I love him or her." Someone discovered their partner's infidelity and responded with violence and threats, yet swore with conviction, "I love you." Someone stole public assets to embellish their home and felt no shame in proclaiming, "I love my family." Someone adorned their home to be lavish and spotless but swept their trash outside without a hint of guilt, proudly claiming, "I love cleanliness." Someone invaded another country, committing arson, robbery, and murder, yet shamelessly declared, "I love my homeland." Someone recklessly destroyed natural resources while brazenly professing, "I love the people of my hometown. I love the masses." Someone enclosed themselves in a narrow religious bubble, preventing their followers from embracing new ideas and perspectives, yet shamelessly announced, "I love you all." Someone persecuted dissenters and boldly declared, "I love my party. I love my faith." Someone wielded bayonets and embraced atomic bombs with reckless abandon, proclaiming, "I love life. I love peace." A wolf killed a lamb to feed its cubs, its mouth dripping with blood, and proudly declared to the entire forest, "I love my children." Someone indiscriminately dumped trash everywhere, unfazed and unashamed, yet declared, "I love nature." Someone bullied kind and honest people while fervently swearing, "I love God." Oh my God, what terrifying love. 不要以爱的名义对他人进行精神和心灵的控制. Do not use love as a justification for spiritual and soul control. Jiefeng. November 24, 2009. Great love is like a mountain, silent and steadfast. The greatest Creator's love for us is unwavering and eternal, never expressed in human language. If love comes with conditions, if it needs words to be expressed, or if it demands reciprocation, then it is not great love, it is small love. How many loves drift by like passing clouds, ever-changing in form? How many loves are fleeting encounters, shifting with the seasons? How many loves begin with solemn vows but wither into lifeless silence? How many loves start with fiery passion, only to decay into stench and rot? Such love is not true love. It is love born of selfish desire. Love that comes with conditions ceases to be love. It becomes a tool for binding and strangling the other under the guise of love. True love is the harmonious dance of two hearts in sync. If you make the other person feel guilty or indebted in the name of love, then you are using love as a means of spiritual and emotional control. True love does not require enticements, promises, guarantees, or obligations. It is entirely voluntary, like the spontaneous collision of clouds charged with opposite energies, the natural merging of two rivers, or the seamless blending of milk and water. Love that relies on money, possessions, power, status, beauty, youth, or any other external factor is selfish scheming, not true love. True love fully respects the other's freedom. If love restricts or robs someone of their freedom, it is not love. It is deception, exploitation, and control masquerading as love, inflicting spiritual and emotional torment. The following behaviors illustrate how love can be misused to exert spiritual and emotional control over others. Emotional manipulation through words and promises. Statements like, "I will love you forever. Without you, I can't live. Apart from you, I will never be with anyone else. I am willing to die for you and dedicate everything to you. In this life, I will never pursue anyone else but you. You are my everything. Remember my words and vows. My love for you is sacred and must not be tainted or desecrated. I love you so deeply that without your love, life is meaningless to me. I'd rather die." Such declarations are not expressions of true love. They are cunning manipulations disguised as love, often the most selfish and ruthless kind. Control through overbearing care. Constantly showering the other with gifts, creating favorable conditions, speaking sweet words, and offering meticulous care can turn into a form of control. This imposes invisible pressure, making the other feel indebted and ultimately aiming to bind them to your will. Emotional blackmail through extreme reactions.